6 months or so, and then it's like, oh yeah, great, get to dive back into this world again, and reconnect with it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, Vincent.
Vincent.
Afternoon. Am I late? That's 3 minutes to the hour. I was stuck in traffic. I just came back from family outing. Won't have webcam on my end because it's streaming to YouTube, so we need to use that.
Reconnect with it.
Okay, I'm gonna need to get Gabriel in here. He is. I see him sitting alone in a chat room on Discord. Didn't get the memo that we're doing Google Meets now.
I'm pretty sure the audio on the live stream is already going. Just FYI.
Yeah. It's just gonna feed its preview thing.
Oh, okay.
And it should have this wonderful music.
So they heard our whole conversation.
Yeah.
Well,
no, I just got here, so whatever you said after I join as well, they'll be hearing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can share screen to you guys, and it's gonna make it easier, so I can just pull the script up. You guys can see my screen, right?
It's loading, but yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Let's dip into the script first and pull up Dropbox. You guys have the latest link?
I literally was looking at it over the last couple minutes. Like, that's the first I've gotten the chance to look at it.
I have the one from when you originally told me about the role.
Yeah, we've changed minor things. Let me get you guys a recent link. Hello. What we need is that you, Gabriel, that I hear?
It is.
Welcome.
Hey, Gabriel. Nice to see you again.
Hello. Nice to see you too.
Link. Now, does Google Meet have a chat function? Here it is. It's the little text bubble. So this is the link to the latest version of the script. And then for the sake of brevity, I'll add a Nights in Shanghai episode 2 character profiles in case you guys haven't had time to read into your characters yet. I think that's everything that we will need for this one. So let me pull up the script. Perfect. Open in Word. Hey, Emily.
Hi.
Okay, we have that open. Gabriel, did you end up pushing the changes to the description text, the one that begins with Shanghai hasn't changed, but the world has?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so anyway. There was some kind of edit conflict at some point. I couldn't really find what the differences were. I'm hoping that wasn't what it was, because I forgot that I made those changes, so maybe that is what it was. Let me see. Nope, the changes are there, it looks like.
Sounds good. We still need to tweak one or two things about that description. I agree with the point you made. I'm trying to move phrasing around. It's the same with the divided states. We spent a few versions until I think we got a good lock on what the description of the show should be. I think we should set up like the drama of the series earlier, because it's a lot of. I think we need to make it at least half as long. It's a little long right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it sort of sets it up nicely. Okay, considering that everyone's here, I'm just going to do a quick introduction. You guys are going to have to bear with me, those of you who are on live stream, because I recently switched my... I was recording State of the Cinema, and it changes all my webcam settings, so I'm going to have to move some things around on my end. You just give me a minute. So this needs to be... You'll see my... webcam change as we go along. One of the issues I've been having is when I switch from webcam to my camera, in case I want to like film something for State of the Cinema, for example, it changes all the settings in OBS, so I have to change them back every single time. Now, because my webcam is pushing to YouTube, you guys won't be able to see it. You can pull up the live stream if you want to look at my wonderful room, which has not been cleaned for this live stream, but I think we can do audio only for now. Let me cut music. I have on my computer the license track that we bought just today, Gabriel, for Nights in Shanghai, the Shanghai ambience. So I'm going to play that for the guys while we do this. So on the live stream audience, let me know if there's anything weird. You guys are hearing poor audio mixes. Just let me know if I need to tweak things on OBS. I think I set them up correctly. Again, live stream is always a little trying to get everything right without getting a look because I'm on this end of the camera. So let's cut music. We have got music. We have speakers. And then we need the assets. So we have 2 tracks, Gabriel. We have the 1940s office ambience, and then we have 1930s Shanghai. Is that the 2 that you wanted? Numbers 68 and 160.
Looks like it.
Solid. Let me just pull that up. All right, I'm ready to start when you guys are. I think we have everyone here. We have Walter, Stephen, Emily, Gabriel. I'm not seeing Macy right now. She did mention she was coming, but if she is not, I will have to take over for Mei Chen. She does show in the first scene. So, Gabriel, will you read the description text as we go into One Night in Shanghai, Episode 2, The Casanova?
Sure. Right. Shanghai hasn't changed. Oh.
Yeah, ready when you are.
Okay. Shanghai hasn't changed, but the world has. The collapse of the British and French colonial empires has left the pearl of the Legation Cities in turmoil. The murky back streets are ruled by vicious gangs, the towering plazas by corrupt officials and greedy corporations. Further inland, China is torn apart by warlords and internal strife. New imperial powers like Japan and Germany encroach on Shanghai's old order, attempting to expand their influence and imperial power. In Beijing, the old Qing Empire has been restored, but only at the grace of German financial and military support. Old regimes and empires alike are haunted everywhere by the specter of syndicalism, a worldwide Red Revolution that has already claimed the remnants of Britain and France. In the streets, people whisper that the defeated Republican faction, the Kuomintang, are being supported by these new syndicalist powers. Driven underground by the Qing Empire and their German overlords, these revolutionaries wait in the shadows for a chance to strike. In this city of sin, the opium dens and gambling houses are always packed. Backroom deals and corruption run rampant. Key around the underground machinery of the Legation Cities are compradors, free agents, fixers, and accomplices from various international backgrounds. The greatest among them is an American from parts unknown, a man known as Frank Duncan.
All right. Just interim, guys. I'm hearing a lot of background, like noise and paper shuffling. If one of you is pushing background noise, make sure to mute self while you're not speaking. I'll just read the next paragraph. This is just a quick breakdown of what Nights in Shanghai is. So, Nights in Shanghai is our audio drama series, focused exclusively on podcasts. There's a few illustrations that I will show during this live stream for the live stream audience. But again, this video, when done, is uploaded to YouTube and SoundCloud, intended as an audio first project. So, Nights in Shanghai is an audio drama series exploring an alt history world changed forever by German victory in the Great War. This series is based on the world of Kaiserreich, the world's most popular fan-built alt history universe. In the world of Kaiserreich, Germany and their Central Power allies win the Great War, leading to the collapse of the British and French colonial empires. In their place, powers new and old have brokered a fragile balance of power in a China perpetually on the brink of war. That takes us into scene 1. So, Walter, we have you as narrator and as Frank Duncan. We have Macy as Mei Chen. And we have a few background sounds which I think you can describe for us, Gabriel.
Sorry, what do you want me to read?
We're going to start from intro. First line is for Walter. So we have, by mid-December, it seemed like the Japanese, etc., etc.
Ready to rock?
Yeah, Walter, whenever you're ready.
By mid-December, it seemed like the Japanese had given up whatever game they'd been playing. Mere weeks after he'd appeared, one day their representative, Mr. Shiro, just went and vanished from the city streets, bars, and tea houses. At least that was the case as far as I could tell. Maybe the Japanese had found someone to do their dirty work, but even if they did, well, they were playing with a losing hand. Only I could do what they wanted, how they wanted it, or so I like to think. Like that, the Japanese job became just another story, a mystery told at parties and across hotel bars, a curiosity confined to memory, at least for a while. For me, it was back to business as usual, or at least as close as I could get given the season. As the cold finally set in across the northern plain and up to Yangtze, most businesses slowed to a crawl. Hell, Manchuria had been frozen over since November. Shanghai was still as bright and bustling as ever, but yours truly had to find another way to spend the extra time and the extra cash. Some might have turned to the more visceral vices. They sure didn't call Shanghai the whore of the Orient for nothing. Myself, though, I found another calling, another sort of business more to my taste. If I were a high roller, I might have gone all in at the race club or the canidrome and bet on a hound or a horse with a lucky name. A step down, and I might have mingled with the crowds at the Fuxing for roulette or Paigeot. Me, I preferred things down a few more steps, followed by what most of my countrymen would have called a tumble in the gutter. I spent my leisure time away from the bright lights, down an alley off Kaifeng Street, an establishment known mostly jokingly as the e02, the barber shop, after the street shaver who hawked his trade at the alley entrance. There, with a close-knit crowd of regulars, you didn't have to worry about getting cheated, at least not in the usual institutional fashion. See, catching the other kind of cheating, the honest, under-the-table kind, is just part of the game. At least, that's how I saw things.
Can you do the background sounds, Gabriel?
I mean,
Just read them out.
angry, muffled shouting in Chinese is not something I can do, but I can definitely say that it's happening.
Just say angry
Yes.
muffled whenever we have,
Yes,
audio coming in.
Angry, muffled shouting in Chinese.
Oh, come on, buddy. I had no idea that guard was there. Others didn't always agree. Sometimes their arguments could be pretty persuasive.
A door slams open. The sound changes from interior to exterior. Duncan is punched and thrown into the street.
That's how I found myself flat in the mud off Kaifeng Street in late December 1935.
Angry voices continue. A car enters the alley and one of its doors opens.
Hey, you gave me a good swing. Let's just leave it at that, huh?
Steps approach on the muddy cobbles, and a gun is cocked.
All right, boys. Game's over. He's coming with me.
The voices give up and leave, and the door slams shut. The gun is uncocked and put away in a coat pocket.
My Chen, yours is the last face I expected to see. The hell are you doing here?
Looking for the great Frank Duncan, and apparently saving your ass too.
Hey, I was handling it, and you found me... How?
The barber. He keeps an eye on things. Now come on, Duncan. I have a car waiting. You're needed somewhere.
She begins walking away. Two car doors are opened, one after the other. She gets in one and closes it. The car starts.
Why?
You'll
He
find...
approaches the car. Sorry, and she starts it.
You'll find out soon enough. And hey, it seems you owe me one. Besides, don't you trust me?
To be honest, not really.
Duncan, if I wanted you dead, I would have let your friends have their way and finished you off later.
Fine.
Duncan gets in the car, fade to black, begin monologue. As the monologue begins, the car interior visual appears, and the car starts and begins to drive.
Mai Chen was an old acquaintance, though not so old that it meant much. Over the past several years, she'd appeared on and off at some of my usual haunts, like Yanyu, or along the Bund, usually staying only long enough to pass on some message or other. Young and attractive, she always caught one eye or another, but rarely the suspicious kind. The most reliable rumors, which weren't very reliable, made her out as the daughter of some shipping magnate or by a second or third concubine. I'd always figured Chen for an informant, but I hadn't guessed she could drive.
Looks like you picked up quite a bruise.
Can't fault his aim. Does it at least add to my roguelike charm?
Chen chuckles slightly but leaves the question unanswered.
I heard you nearly got into one with like it just a few weeks back. Run-in with some German officer?
Lieutenant Gluck? Yeah, he's a nut. A real asshole.
Asshole or angel? Seems you were really going out on a limb, Duncan. Honestly, my employer respects a stand like that, but picking fights with German officers doesn't seem so healthy to me.
Yeah, well, you're not exactly my doctor now, are you?
No, but I didn't nearly get beaten up in a dark alley either. Now, you may want to clean yourself up a little. We're almost there.
Busy street ambience grows and club music can be heard, muffled. After a moment, the car rolls to a stop, and they step out.
When we pulled up to Ladlow's Casanova, I wasn't exactly thrilled. A neon-studded, lower-class outfit, the club brought in the opposite of my usual clientele. Soldiers, sailors, middle-class Chinese. Whatever business we were walking into, its chances of being over the table were dropping by the minute.
They walk inside, fade to black. Transition to club interior visual. The music grows in volume and is no longer muffled. Club ambience.
Like any club anywhere, the Casanova was thick with cigarette smoke, the bar abuzz. On a stage against the far wall was the night's main act, an all-female song and dance, their tinsel streamers spinning and sparkling in the lamplight. Glowing lamps at the scattered tables illuminated all kinds of food, drink, and half-lit faces, talking, drinking, smoking, or simply watching, enraptured as the dancers twisted and twirled. One such table was our destination, larger and set aside. I assumed the man sitting there was my prospective employer, but something else caught my eye. An old ama sat one seat over, asleep, countless drinks and platefuls of picked-at food in front of her. Strange. Few men brought their mothers to a nightclub.
Thank you for bringing him, Miss Chin. Please, take a seat, Mr. Duncan.
Duncan sits, Chen remains standing.
Thanks. Now, what's this all about? I'm not so keen on getting dragged halfway across town without an explanation.
Then you'll be pleased to learn this is a fairly straightforward matter. You owe quite a substantial debt, I'm afraid, which we cannot allow to remain unpaid.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. Now, if we could just arrange a currency and a method of transaction.
The representative's voice loses focus and fades. The camera begins to slow pan and zoom toward the stage.
So as soon as the word debt passed his lips, I knew this was just some fraudster's idea of a shakedown. I talked my way out of worse, and even the Casanova wasn't the kind of place anyone could afford to get violent. While he blabbed, my eyes wandered, eventually settling on the stage. Those dancers really were a buxom bunch, tight-fitting costumes absent in all the right places.
The music finishes to applause.
Next, we'll be hearing from the magnificent Swingin' Sevens. Come on up, boys.
It sure was disappointing to see them prance off stage.
Dancers disappear. The host appears.
I'll pick up for Zhang as well then. I can't do the Chinese, so I'm just gonna say
That's
shouting
fine.
in Chinese. Hey! Fuck them! Fuck your mother! I don't want to see them! Bring the girls back out! Now give it up for the Sevens!
Bang.
What the hell?
The sound comes back into focus. Perspective returns to full. Zhang has shot the host in the leg, who falls to the ground. The crowd screams and begins to stampede out of the room.
My heart almost skipped a beat. The man who just shot the Casanova's host was one of the most vicious and violent warlords in China. This lunatic called Shang Songchang was said to have the body of an elephant, the brain of a pig, and the temperament of a tiger. Shang was known for splitting the heads of his enemies like melons and hanging others from telephone poles. Unfortunately, my debt to him was very, very real. It wasn't the kind of money I had under the mattress, but frankly, given the man's wealth and complete disregard for the size of his own wallet, I thought he'd never collect.
Soon only Duncan, the representative, Zhang, and his mother are left. The room is almost silent. Zhang now stands at the table.
Duncan, you look like you've been in a fight.
My employer asks that...
Yeah, I know what he's asking. Yeah, a fight.
Nice. Did you win?
Yes. I won all right. Right, Chen?
Yes.
Zhang laughs again and throws a heavy bag of silver onto the table.
Fuck the debt. Put him on the job. The one with sun.
Of course.
Zhang sits at the table and begins eating.
A job? What kind of job?
My employer recently lost a wager with League Marshal Sun Changfang, and he...
Yeah, I heard. Look, I'm a comprador, not some kind of hired gun. Besides, going up against the smiling tiger in his own den would be as good as a death sentence. I'll pay what you want when you want, and then we can go our separate ways. Deal?
Sir, even if that were an option, I wasn't finished. I'm sure you're aware gambling over mere money would have been meaningless to both gentlemen. So instead, they bet against the contents of their hotel suites. The monetary loss was, of course, immaterial, but a wound to pride is not so easily remedied. The job my employer is offering you is to arrange the return of the entire contents of the Cathay Hotel's Japanese suite. Most items are already on the open market. I have a comprehensive printed list right here.
He passes the list to Duncan, who begins reading from it.
1 custom marked and gold plated presentation saber. 3 blue parade uniforms with affixed medals. 15 tatami mats. Hold on. What's this number 1 scribbled in at the end?
I'm sure you'll discover that information as you proceed with your search, sir. In exchange, your debt will be forgiven, of course, alongside a generous bonus in silver. However, I should warn you, several parties have already been set to the same task, all with substantial lead. Your chances could be better.
I'll bet you've hired a bunch of gumshoes. Maybe some Green Gang thugs. Bumbling Russian mercenaries?
I really couldn't say. But if betting were your strong suit, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Touché. Tell me, what happens if everything goes sideways?
We have a few options. None of them are good for you.
Zhang's mother snores. Zhang eats food ravenously.
My eyes drifted over to Zhang, cheerfully tearing into a plate of chicken, his mother snoring loudly. There's something about the warlord's eyes. Too much white. It felt like staring at a hungry lion. Well, good thing it won't come to that. Knowing all there is to know in this city is my job. I can find what you need, no trouble. But first, I need some guarantees.
I think you're overselling your position, sir. I'm offering you the job as is, and that's final. Either you take it here and now, or I cannot guarantee the continued good behavior of my employer. What will it be?
Fine. Fine. Consider it done.
Excellent. Good day, Mr. Duncan, and best of luck to you.
Duncan stands and walks away. Outro music plays. End.
This is where we get to post-credit scene. This is Emily Sardal and William McDonough as Louise Lacroix and Inspector Hong.
Ambient switches to a police office. Phone calls, telegrams. Heels approach the door and the door opens. The heels enter and the door closes.
Mr. Hong?
It's late, miss. I'm not in the mood for an infidelity case. You want an inspector, go through the front desk.
She pulls up a chair.
This is not a marital affair, Mr. Hong. My name is Louise Lacroix. I'm here about your son.
My son? I haven't seen him in 3 months.
He's being hunted by the German consular police, and that means military intelligence too.
I said I hadn't seen him. I can guess well enough what he's up to. You know what? While I'm at it, I'm gonna guess some more. You work for the commune. They've got you working for the KMT, and you want something from me. Is that right?
Exactement. In the coming days, you will receive a call from a comprador called Frank Duncan. You must feed him some information, nothing more.
What makes you think you can ask for anything, anything at all, after you ruined my son's life in the pursuit of some pipe dream? You weren't here during the 32 uprising, I'll bet. Suzu Creek was clogged with bodies, swollen and black. The smell like you wouldn't believe. Over at North Station, they were throwing KMT into locomotive fireboxes like tinder wood. Some were still alive. The revolution died then and there, Miss LaCroix. My son just doesn't know it yet. Nor, apparently, do you.
The KMD has been dealt a blow, yes. But an idea is not so easily killed, Inspector.
And which idea is that? The destruction of the League of Eight Provinces? A KMT government in Beijing? An end to imperialism in Asia? Has it occurred to you who I work for?
You work for money. Anyone who will pay. That's what your son says.
It's not that simple.
Then show me. And show your son. What I'm asking for is a trifling affair.
I've known Duncan for years.
It's just information, Inspector. You falsify reports, destroy evidence, cover up murders, all for the Green Gang. What I'm asking of you is harmless in comparison. Besides, it's not like the commune can't pay for your services.
She places a heavy stack of silver dollars on the table. After a moment, he takes it.
I'll pass Duncan the information, but I think you've got me wrong. Miss LaCroix.
Have I?
Thanks to people like you and your ideas. One day I'm gonna lose a son. That's something I've come to terms with. It's his choice, his life. But my grandkids, they're 6 and 8. They're gonna lose a father. That's why I do what I do, Miss LaCroix. The least I can do is take from you and give to them.
Chair scrape. Louise stands up.
If that's what helps you sleep at night, Inspector, who am I to disagree? I'll see myself out.
Louise stands up and walks out. The door closes.
Just another night in Shanghai.
End.
All right, and that is scene. Thank you, everyone, for this table read. Some minor things that I noticed on this particular scene for you, Emily. Watch the sneering tone. So I'm hearing condescension from Louise in this scene, but it's more like she's connecting to Hong. She's offering him a good deal. She is a spy for the Commune of France, so it is in her best interest to be on a good footing with this inspector, as well as the Commune of France. And the story more broadly is trying to be an equal partner to the Republican forces in China. So the condescension is something that we would expect from the imperialists in this story, but not from your faction. So it should be more of a, and I'll note it in the script so we have that marked for later, it should be more of a confident, understated, you know a lot more than you're letting on tone, rather than a condescension to Inspector Hong, as you will have more back and forth with his character. Just marking that for future reads. William, wonderful work. Walter, Stephen, beautiful work. I see that Macy has joined us in the meantime. Macy, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Am I audible?
So Macy
Okay.
is our Mei Chen. She didn't make it for the start, but maybe now that she's here, we can do a quick retake of just the dialogue between Duncan and Chen. Let me just take 1 second to mark this in the Louise and Hong scene. I want to leave a comment there. So for Emily, watch the condescension. Louise's tone is more understated, amiable. What's a word that I'm looking for, Gabriel? Understated, amiable, but she knows more. But she knows more than she is letting on. So confident, powerful character.
The only place I'd say a little condescension could maybe come through is the part where she is amused.
Yeah.
Where that would be the only place.
Where she's accusing him of working with the Green Gang, being common fuck. Then William, on your character new character introduced, Inspector Hong. We've given you, I think, Mike Ehrmantraut from Breaking Bad as an example. He's Not exactly a good guy, but he's generally an honorable person. Tries to do right by the people aside him. So that's essentially what we're trying to set up towards the future. I think the sound is good, and then we'll explore his character more in future episodes. Then, Stephen Varnum, that was good on the representative. Make sure that you tone down the sneakiness just a little bit. He can, I think the British tone was good, but he's a little too like cartoony evil. He can be a little more, but a bit of that is good. We can tweak that as we read it in principal recording.
Okay.
But the basis was there. The basis was very strong. Walter, of course, you do Duncan's voice as you do Duncan's voice. That's why you're here. So that was perfect. There's going to be parts, in principle where we're going to ask for certain affectations or certain stresses.
Yeah.
Let's do just a quick retake of the scene between Duncan and Mei Chen so we can hear Macy at work. The actor for Zhang Zhangchang unfortunately could not make it today, so we're going to see if we can get him with us for principal recording. He is a Chinese actor as well, so he can do all the Chinese parts. We will need to give you guys recorded or phonetic parts for the specific Chinese dialogues that you're doing. These will be minor phrases in the background, but there is, of course, Chinese being spoken.
Yeah.
Gabriel and the Chinese translation team with us will do that. So the line... Macy, we're going to start from scene 1, the alley, and we're going to take it out from Duncan, now outside, flustered in pain and a little worried. Hey, you gave me a good swing. Let's leave it at that. And then we have Chen on second line. So whenever you're ready, Walter.
Perfect. Hey, you gave me a good swing. Let's leave it at that, huh?
Steps approach on the muddy cobbles, and a gun is cocked.
I'm so sorry. Where can I find the script? I'm so
It's
sorry. I'm
in,
late.
do you see the chat box? The
Oh,
first
it's not.
link?
Yeah, I can't see it because I was late.
The chat box is, yeah.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
This first link should be the script. You will want to scroll down to the bottom end of page 4. That's where we are right now.
Okay, I'm opening it right now.
Yeah, let me know when you're ready and I'll lead you in.
Okay, thanks.
And just as an aside, Vincent and Gabriel, I was listening to to kind of get myself back into Duncan.
Absolutely.
I was listening through to episode 1, and it's these names still definitely Joshua in what's on YouTube. So we'll have to figure out what it is. How we want to choose continuity on that.
People have 3 names, so you can see Joshua Frank Duncan. Come over. Really?
Yeah,
Did we
that's what
really
it is.
forget the name of our main character? That is a certified Kaiser Cat cinema moment.
Well, and I always remember, the actor who was playing Gluck and the way he said, Joshua Duncan, was just, it stuck in my head. And so then when later I was reading Frank, I was like, wait a minute, that what?
Interesting, because the script is definitely Frank, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, well. Okay.
We might have had an old copy when we did principal recording because that was a recast.
Okay.
But yeah, it's Joshua on the YouTube episode.
While we wait for Macy, actually, William, Stephen, Emily, you guys are pretty much done for this table read, so you can leave, continue on with the day. I would just want to talk to Gabriel, answer some questions for fans for 5 to 10 more minutes. So we will reach out to you when we start principal recording. It will be much like the Divided States. All of you were there for the Divided States, so you know pretty much how we work. Wonderful work. We'll do a little more in-depth, taking it line by line as we go into principal, but we have a good basis here. And we look forward to working with you. We should be starting principal recording script block next week. I have one more meeting with Gabriel where we're going to do final tweaking. Week after should be principal. Shouldn't take too long. This is a shorter episode, shorter series as well. Yeah. And then wrap up in invoicing. So thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see you for principal.
Sounds good, Vincent. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, see you guys.
Thanks, Vince.
See you guys later.
See ya.
So, Macy, ready when you are for that final scene?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Hey, you gave me a good swing. Let's leave it at that, huh?
Steps approach on the muddy cobbles, and a gun is cocked.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I
The
kind of
line is all right, boys. Game's over. He's coming with me.
Okay, where were we again? I'm so sorry.
End of page 4, scene 1, Ali.
Okay. All right, boys, game's over. He's coming with me.
The voices give up and leave. The door slams shut. The gun is uncocked and put away in a coat pocket.
My Chen, yours is the last face I expected to see. What the hell are you doing here?
Looking for the great Frank Duncan, and apparently saving your ass too.
Hey, I was handling it. And you found me how?
The barber, he keeps an eye on things. Now come on, Duncan. I have a car waiting. You're needed somewhere.
She begins walking away. 2 car doors are opened, one after the other. She gets in one and closes it. The car starts.
Why?
You'll find out soon. Wait, I'm sorry.
No worries. He approaches the car and she starts it.
You'll find out soon enough. And hey, it seems you owe me one. Besides, don't you trust me?
To be honest, not really.
Duncan, if I wanted you dead, I would have let your friends have their way and finished you off later.
Fine.
Duncan gets in the car, fade to black, begin monologue. As the monologue begins, the car interior visual appears and the car starts and begins to drive.
My Chen was an old acquaintance, but not so old that it meant much. Over the past several years, she'd appeared on and off at some of my usual haunts, like Yanyu or along the Bund, usually staying only long enough to pass on some message or other. Young and attractive, she always caught one eye or another, but rarely the suspicious kind. The most reliable rumors, which weren't very reliable, made her out as the daughter of some shipping magnate by a second or third concubine. I'd always figured Chen for an informant, but I hadn't guessed she could drive.
Looks like you picked up quite a bruise.
Yeah, can't fault his aim. Does it at least add to my road-like charm?
I heard you nearly got one just like it a few weeks back. A run-in with some German officer.
Lieutenant Gluck? Yeah, he's a nut. A real asshole.
Asshole or angel, seems you were really going out on a limb. Honestly, my employer respects a stand like that, but picking fights with German officers doesn't seem so healthy to me.
Yeah, well, you're not exactly my doctor now, are you?
No, but I didn't nearly get beaten up in a dark alley, either. Now, you may want to clean up yourself a little. We're almost there.
Busy street ambience grows and club music can be heard, muffled. After a moment, the car rolls to a stop and they step out.
I think that's the end of all lines that Chen has in this episode, so we can move on from there. Walter, Macy, wonderful work on this. I think that's all we need for the table read. Me and Gabriel are going to answer some questions from fans. Also, I put a few marks here for story, Gabriel. I think this is a good time to discuss them in lieu of our regular weekly writers meeting. So sure. The two of you can move on. Thank you for joining us today and have a wonderful weekend. Yeah, we'll see you during principal recording. I'll send an email with the dates when we start wrapping up this episode.
Awesome.
Right.
Great to see you all again.
Yeah. I'll see you during principal. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. So I put a few marks here on just story-wise, Gabriel. The first one is where May says picking fights with German officers doesn't seem so healthy to me. And I think the overall point that I have with this is that I feel we'll need to do a little more legwork in setting up the larger political narrative or the overarching story of the series, and I think this is as a good place as any. May could say something like, picking fights with German officers doesn't seem so healthy to me. The world is changing, Duncan. The Germans are basically something that comes down to the world is changing. The Germans are going to be in charge soon, and we need to, match our thing. Duncan can then come back with, something arrogant, something like, Germans, Russians, doesn't matter. The city is run by the compradors. And then Mace is something like, you should watch out with an attitude like that. You could get into real trouble. This could foreshadow some of the things that happen later. How do you feel about that?
I feel like the only thing is, I don't know if it would be clear to anybody that the Germans are going to take things over at this point.
Yeah.
Like it's supposed to be very much a kind of a Cold War situation where both sides are fairly equal. In particular, because it's actually almost like a three-way thing. The Americans are kind of there being the balancing power, and it's really once they disappear. I mean, Black Monday is a shock, but once they disappear, everything really falls apart after the American Civil War starts. So.
Yeah.
I think being like, I like the idea that the world is changing for sure, but implying that the Germans are going to be in charge, I think would be going a little too far in that regard.
But I think any implication that there is a changing of the political currents of Shanghai, and just to intersperse, I just saw a question. Someone asked, when will the next episode of the Divided States be uploaded? So the Divided States is our other series. This is Nights in Shanghai, set in the Legation Cities. Episode 1 part 2 is slated for a March release, and then Battery Park probably end of the year, but no definitive dates as well. You can always go check out the State of the Cinema if you guys are interested in seeing our release schedule. So back on this, anything that implies that the political currents in the city are shifting and that maybe Duncan's position could get compromised because of what is happening. This is sort of the point that I'm trying to get at, and the second part where I would like to allude to make this illusion. By the way, Macy, you can leave this call. We have everything you need for table read from you, and we'll be in touch when we start principal recording. Yeah, no problem. Have a great weekend, and thanks for joining us.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
It's the second part where we make this specific illusion. Let me just rescale you so I see you. The second part where we make this illusion could be at the end. So right now it ends quite abruptly with, so this is the end of scene 3, the Casanova, where Duncan says, fine, consider it done. Excellent, good day, Mr. Duncan, and best of luck to you. I feel here we need something where Duncan walks away and he says something to foreshadow events, which then again leads into the post-credit scene before. I'm gonna make a small mark here. Maybe Duncan says, ever had the feeling you're being set up? This is very obvious writing, but like it was all a little too perfect. He implies that there's some sort of greater game being played, which is leading to this unusual sequence of events with Sang Zhongchang suddenly turning up, him being in debt. And then we get into the scene with Louise and Hong, where we sort of set that up even further. How do you feel about that?
I mean, a simple way to do that would just be to take the feeling you're set up part and just put it right in his last line. It's already there, like at the end. So he says, fine, consider it done. It just feels a bit like I'm being set up. And then the representative just kind of like goes, excellent, good day, goodbye. Would he like explicitate that to the representative? I don't think that's a good idea on his part. It's good to play dumb. Oh, so you wanted to have that last bit as like a narrator internal.
Yeah, that's his narrative.
Oh,
okay. Internal monologue. So when he walks away, we get that ambience where he goes outside of the building, and then he's like, it was all a little too perfect. First, XYZ, the Japanese, first the Japanese job happens. Then Zhang Zhongchang suddenly shows up in town, starts collecting on a debt, something he never does. Then the Germans get all antsy. Ever had the feeling that, your strings are being pulled, or any interesting metaphor that he can put at this place being set up was all a little too perfect. So Japanese job, alluding to nervous Germans. Ever had the feeling your strings are being pulled? Maybe if we want the I had the creeping realization it may not have been another night in Shanghai, if we want to do that. And then we don't have oh shit, I think I screwed something up. I think you reverted my changes and then I reverted yours. But
I actually didn't touch anything.
Wait,
just Control Z maybe?
I can read it. Yeah. Got it. It may not have been another night in Shanghai. And then we take that line away from Hong, and then we do move the Louise and Hong scene to post-credits version 4. So these two things I think will add a little bit to the episode, in a sense that we hear conversations and we hear events being set up, but I think it would be good to have a little more of an allusion to what is going to happen and what is the larger political scene in Shanghai at the time. That, like, we don't have to be very specific. We can just say something is weird in the city, something is changing.
And then don't forget, we do have the whole first episode that's like the center point of it.
Yeah, but then again, there's been a large amount of time between the two. But, you know, I suggest that we do a meeting on Thursday. Actually, we'll need to do it on Wednesday because I will be out of office on Thursday. And script wrap and sort of work on this and finalize the script and then go to recording the week after. How does that sound?
That works.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover for this particular table read live stream. The Dark Guardian. I think that's Walter, I think. Ever felt the chessboard is being moved, like the chessboard is being moved around you? He's writing the character now. Thanks, Walter. So, ever felt like the chessboard is being moved around you? Something like that, a little bit of illusion. I want to give it another lead when my head is a little clearer. But I think one or two more of these would add a little spice to the episode. Yeah. Anything else that sort of you heard during this table read that you feel like we need to work on or should add a note to?
I made a couple small changes, but there are things like where, like one thing had a chair getting pulled twice when, you know, it was just one person.
Yeah.
Just in different places. I made the reference that Duncan makes to the girls going off stage more specific. He just said them before. It wasn't necessarily clear he was referring to, so I said the girls. Otherwise, no, I think it's pretty solid.
Yeah, I feel good about this one. All right, so let's script lock this with one final writing meeting. Script lock on Wednesday. I'll move the calendar event for you so you know where to find me. Then we will have principal recording the week after, you know, whatever hour works for you. This is a US time zone thing. I think all our actors on US time zone right now. So we'll probably put it at somewhere like, you know, can you do weekdays?
Me? I mean, it depends on the day. But
what days are you off weekdays?
I mean, Wednesday and Thursday are always the best days for me.
Yeah, okay. I can do either or. So I'll send an email out to everyone and see what availabilities are for principal. We'll do the synchronous ones and same as divided states, one pass synchronous and then pickups.
All right.
We haven't seen the actor for Zhang Zong Chang, who I do wish we could, you know, we could speak to him once before he starts doing the roles. I would like to have him synchronous so we can tweak a little bit on his Sang voice. But, you know, I'll see. I'll send him a follow-up email, see if we can get that wrapped up.
Cool. By the way, Walter was right about the name. So
we do say Joshua Duncan? Okay.
So yeah, in the actual script, his character name given at the start, which is what I think I referred to in writing the second episode, it says Frank Duncan. If you actually look in the script itself, it does have Joshua.
Okay, so he's Frank Joshua Duncan. It's a we play it off. It's his it's a maiden name he uses sometimes, you know. Yeah, we can totally run with this. Like May says like Joshua, and he's like, sometimes it doesn't hurt to use a different name, right? He uses it in situations. It's his middle name.
That actually, I mean, him having different names would sort of fit with his character fairly well. So
yeah, I do prefer that his real name should be Frank Duncan. It feels like a very American, American noir name, Frank Duncan. The name's Frank Duncan. All right, so that's everything that I wanted to wrap. Shorter live stream, which is good, you know, keep a little bit of energy in there. Anything you want to say to the community, Gabriel, before we hop out?
You know, as always, thanks for your support. You know, makes a big difference.
All right, so thank you guys for joining us today. This was the Table Read live stream for the second episode of Nights in Shanghai, our audio content series set against the sweltering backdrop of the Legation Cities in the 1930s. Nights in Shanghai will join the Divided States as, you know, one of our original series. The main specific part here is, of course, that it is audio only. There is a bit of illustration made for this episode, which you can see on my screen right now. But there won't be too much, just a few frames to sort of set a scene. This is Frank and May driving. We will also release it to SoundCloud and, you know, whatever podcasts platform you prefer. I don't know a lot about podcast platforms. If you guys know any, feel free to drop me a DM on Discord. Just send it to me. We'll see about uploading that to different locations. We want to thank all our actors. We also want to thank the GM Tabletop Music Binder for supplying us this wonderful Shanghai ambience soundtrack, which we will hear at various points throughout the show. Marcus Jurgensen did not join us today. He is the third director of this project. He is on set. He is filming War of Mine, a short film which we may release to the channel soon. Actually, it's not a Kaiserreich short film. It's a historical short film. But we wish him the best of luck. I know he's had a lot of issues with COVID on set, but we've seen shots coming from it, and it's looking really good. So good luck, Marcus. He's up in Berlin, I think. And thank you all for joining us. That's all that I have to say. Swing by our web shop. Support us on Patreon if you're interested in seeing more from Kaiserreich Cinema. That's it. Taking us out. Thank you all for joining us.